I've been a huge fan of the Kingdom Hearts franchise since all the way back on the PlayStation 2, like many other players, and I was one of the people waiting around pretty much forever for Kingdom Hearts 3, to the point where I guess I kind of figured it was never going to be made. Obviously it was. By the time it was made, I had really no channel to speak of. Really, nobody watched this channel, so there wasn't really much for me to cover, but I'm really excited and happy because we're now at the point where Kingdom Hearts 4 has actually been announced by Square Enix. There is going to be a lot of fun stuff to talk about with this, and since Kingdom Hearts is something I've wanted to branch off into on this channel and talk about, make lists with, and do other stuff with, I thought, what is a better time than now to kind of hit this right on the head and talk about 5 things that I want to see in Kingdom Hearts 4 as a mega fan of the series. Now, before we hop into this, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you have not already. I appreciate you very much. We're at over 105,000 subscribers, and that is thanks to you guys at home. I appreciate you so much. And when picking out this list, I'm not just looking at myself, I'm also looking at a lot of things that I've seen online. So from Reddit to Twitter to other people commenting on my videos, just things in general that I've seen people want that I think would be really cool in Kingdom Hearts 4. So let's hop into it.
Number 5.
The first thing is a more interactive combat system that actually balances its difficulty well. Now, this is not Jay saying, that this needs to be Dark Souls or something like that. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that I think there should be options in this game because that has been a staple of Kingdom Hearts pretty much forever. However, one thing that had remained pretty true throughout the series, not always, but mostly, was that unless you were playing on actual easy mode, like beginner, there was a little bit of a challenge to it. Even on normal, you could get your butt handed to you if you made a mistake. Same with Proud and same with Critical. I think a big issue I had with Kingdom Hearts 3, and I've seen this issue repeated online, is that unless you are on critical mode, if you want a challenge in Kingdom Hearts 3, there isn't much of one unless you start imposing restrictions upon yourself and your playstyle. When they started introducing different types of attacks with Kingdom Hearts 3, like using the Disney attractions and other stuff like that, it started to actually make Sora very OP. Now, this isn't really a problem as long as the enemies you're going up against are as well. And unless you're playing something like Kingdom Hearts Remind after 3 or playing on critical mode, you're not really going to get that challenge in Kingdom Hearts 3 that you got in previous games. Now, I'm not saying again that it has to be a mandatory challenge. This is not a game series that has challenge built into its DNA like a From Software game or anything like that. But what I do think is that there should be options. For the younger players who are playing this game, this Disney-based game, I think that they should have the option to play it on an easier setting like they always have ever since Kingdom Hearts 1. But for those of us who are older and who have been with the series for longer, it would really be nice to see something where it doesn't feel like you're just sitting back mashing the X or cross button, depending on your region. I want to see this be interactive and actually balanced well, so that depending on what the player wants to do and the way that they enjoy playing these games, they're actually given the option to do so, because I think 3 struggled with that.
Number 4. It's the 4th one.
4.
The next thing is for Quadratum to truly be immersive and expansive, as was teased in the trailer. They do say that this is an expansive world, like one that we have not seen in Kingdom Hearts before. It's much more realistic and down to earth. It very much resembles something like Japan. And I think one thing that's really cool about that is that you're seeing the influence of certain things from Nomura's past that he had wanted to include in games in Quadratum. You also see it in a character like Yozora, with, the Final Fantasy XIII Versus influence being very clear here, from the original reveal of that to the reveal of Kingdom Hearts 4. We do know that some of the DNA of previous projects that have manifested and have not manifested will be coming to Kingdom Hearts 4. Now, what I want to see with that personally is for it to be done well and to actually deliver on that promise. It would be a very big bummer to get to Quadratum and for it to essentially just be another glorified version of Traverse Town or Twilight Town or something like that. I don't think anyone's opposed to it being the hub, that's not what I'm saying, but if we're going to tease it as an expansive, big world city, it has to really be that and live up to its name. And I think it has to live up to those influences that it's very clearly drawing upon from the past as well.
Number 3.
I would also like to see a more mature and intelligent Sora. Now, there are many ways to do this. I am not saying Sora has to come out dropping the F-bomb and having, a bunch of old viral tweets of horrible things that he said when he was a teenager come out so that he can be canceled on the Twitter equivalent of Quadratum. I'm not saying like we have to deal with his taxes or anything crazy like that, but what I'm saying is they have been kind of working towards an older Sora for a while, but taking their time. This was something that we saw, obviously, with Kingdom Hearts 3, where a lot of people thought that the time jump would have been a little bigger between something like Dream Drop Distance and KH3, but it wasn't. Sora was very close to the same age, and a big issue I personally had with something like Dream Drop and Kingdom Hearts 3 was that there was almost a devolution, I never know how to say the word, of Sora's intelligence between Kingdom Hearts 2 and those games. Not only in Dream Drop does Sora basically play right into the hands of every villain that he comes across and come off like a gullible idiot who almost gets himself killed, but then in Kingdom Hearts 3 he sort of does the same thing, and it's really frustrating because this was a character who, even though he wasn't the smartest person of all time, he had tons of heart, but he had brains too. He was an intelligent kid. I think that moving forward, it would be really nice to see him kind of go back to that and mature a little bit more as a person. You don't need to lose the childlike innocence. You don't need to lose the happiness or the things that make him who he is as a person, right? He doesn't have to grow up and have severe depression issues and, hate filing his taxes and all this crazy real world stuff. But I do think that what he needs is to kind of grow as a person. I think this character has been stagnating a little bit the last few entries in the franchise. And if we're going to focus on Sora still in these numbered entries like Nomura wants to, he has to grow and evolve with the players. It's important to note that most of the players of this franchise, not all, some are very young and some are new, but many players of this franchise, at the very least, who have been supporting this franchise for 2 decades, are much older now. They have grown up, they have gotten older. And so you don't need to lose certain core aspects of who he is, but you do need to move him forward as a person and not make him a complete bumbling idiot.
Number two, the numero dos.
Another thing is to learn more about Yozora and actually see these Final Fantasy XIII Versus influences with things like Virum Rex and other things play out well in this game. I know I mentioned, obviously, that I want Quadratum to be immersive and expansive like they teased, but here's the thing with Yozora, and I always say his name differently, so I'm sorry for making you cringe, but he's a really interesting character that I thought was very fun to actually see in Kingdom Hearts 3, but we see very little about him. It's very similar to something like Another Side, Another Story, or Deep Dive from Kingdom Hearts 1 or Final Mix, where you actually start to see a character teased and you're kind of wondering, who is this? That whole thing with Roxas. And then you start to get more and more into the character as the entries go and really learn who this is. We've gotten the tease for who he is and that he is connected to Sora, but we don't really know fully in what way yet. We don't know everything about this character or Quadratum or even how those influences work on the world outside. We do see in the trailer some hooded, nefarious individuals up at the top of a skyscraper while Sora is fighting a giant enemy, which appears to be a Heartless. We do actually see them in what I always called the Organization 13 outfits that are able to disguise your presence and help you travel through worlds and channels of darkness easier. It's interesting because we do see those characters up there, and we also have seen connections again to Yozora here as well, but we just don't know a lot about him. I think it would be really cool to introduce him as another series character that's going to be a big key player going forward, because even though we do have an expansive cast of characters and Keyblade wielders, it's really always awesome to see new Kingdom Hearts specific characters introduced. There's only a couple of franchises where I really know that I'm gonna like the characters, and some of them are from Square Enix, like Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts, where when they introduce a character or even put a spin on a pre-existing character, it's always a fun time and I love to see it.
Number one!
Splat.
The final thing that I have seen an overwhelming dichotomy between, because like a lot of people either really want to see this or they really don't, is something like Star Wars or Marvel, maybe both. Now, I included this in the same entry because I think that it's one of those things that is polarizing with fans. Some people really want to see these, some people don't. However, if you think back to it, this was the same with Pixar. There were a lot of people wanting to see Pixar back as early as Kingdom Hearts 1, but there were also people after Kingdom Hearts 1 kind of saying like, well, I think we can just stick with Disney proper and Final Fantasy. We're kind of now looking like we're moving more away from Final Fantasy again. It is possible that Final Fantasy will still have a big influence on this game, other than just, the 13 verses influence, but it is worth noting that Nomura did bring back the Final Fantasy characters in Remind. So it's possible that even though Kingdom Hearts 3 strayed away from them, we will see them here. What this is looking like more to me, though, is a world where more original characters are showing up. However, there is a very interesting brief shot in the trailer showing a jungle environment, which looks very, very similar to Endor. And it is worth noting that I've seen several content creators and other people online point out that it almost looks like there is an ATST walker foot in the background of one of these shots. Now, it could very easily just be scrap metal, it could be something else entirely, but the premise of Star Wars and Marvel has always been very interesting to me. It's something where for Marvel, I never knew if it would work. However, they kind of proved it to me with something like Big Hero 6 in Kingdom Hearts 3. The way that Sora was able to play off of those characters and their heroism and actually sort of grow and move through that world fluidly, even though it was sort of a more realistic type of Tokyo, which I think kind of sets a little bit of the basis for Quadratum as well, and also exist and get along with those heroes, shows how much potential he could have with other heroic figures from something like Marvel or Star Wars. I mean, imagine it. Imagine with Star Wars, the possibilities are endless. There's so many different eras and ages you could go to in different games. Obviously, you wouldn't want to do them all in one, where like you meet Anakin, then you meet Luke, and then you meet, someone, Rey or whatever. I don't think you'd need to do that in one game, but it is really cool to think that in Kingdom Hearts 4, you could do something like team up with Anakin and help him, in the Clone Wars, or grow as a person in the Jedi Temple or whatever. Or you could meet Luke on Dagobah or on Endor. Anything like this is possible now that Disney owns the license to Star Wars. And I think that's really awesome to see because there are a ton of inspiring characters in that franchise that they own. The same thing does go for Marvel with that heroism, like I said, with Big Hero 6, and the sky is the limit. You want to see Sora fight alongside Spider-Man against the Green Goblin, you want to see Sora team up with Iron Man. Those are possibilities that are really fun, and I think that I understand why some people are against it, why they want to see more Pixar and more Disney, and if anything, more Final Fantasy, and not branch out again into something new. But I want to say that one of the best things about Kingdom Hearts, I think, is the tagline from Kingdom Hearts 1. It's what represented the experience of that game, which was, you never know who you will run into next. That was one of the marketing taglines, at least in North America, for that first game. And one of the things I loved about that was it really was true. You didn't know really where you were going to end up the first time you played through that game. Were you going to end up in some, Hercules world? Were you going to end up in Tarzan's world? What was this place? What were you doing here? And how did you interact with it? The series has really moved on from certain elements and moved past some of them, but it stayed true to its core DNA of immersing you in different worlds and letting you meet new people. Yes, I do want to see Quadratum be like a main area that's very, very big and immersive, but I would love to see some of these other characters from franchises I love show up as well. It would be truly amazing to me to see someone like Sora, a character that I always wanted to be just like since I was a little kid, meet up with someone like Luke Skywalker, a character who personified being a hero to me. To see some of those things cross over and connect would be really beautiful, I think, and interesting if done right. I think that's the big caveat, is it has to be done right and with care. That's why personally, I'm in no rush for Kingdom Hearts 4. I'm really hoping that this is done as it needs to be. Don't rush anything, but also maybe let's try not to take, 20 years to get to the next entry too. I'm very interested to hear what you think in the comments down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What do you want to see in Kingdom Hearts 4? What do you want to see with the franchise going forward? And are there any video ideas you have for Kingdom Hearts that you would want to see from me? Any top 5s or any kind of video essays, anything like that? I'm always interested in and open to as we continue to branch out on this channel with what we cover. I appreciate you very, very much. Please leave a like and subscribe. Like I said before, over 105,000 subs. Thanks to you guys. You are helping this channel grow immensely, and I cannot enunciate how much I appreciate you. Have a fantastic day, everyone. And as always, stay shui.